But I guess the topic in the front of everybody's mind is Latrell Mitchell. Did he do enough? Is the coach of New South Wales interested in him anyway? Where are we going? What did you make of his performance on the back of last week, Wado? Is he getting that centre spot?
Oh, I think he's right there in the picture for sure. There's nothing more that he can do in the last 3 weeks in trying to get that spot back in the New South Wales team. I think if he was playing like this at the start of the year, he's a walk-up start, right? And that's probably where all the criticism came from early in the season, because they just weren't hitting the levels that we come to expect from South Sydney, particularly Latrell. But yeah, the last 3 weeks, he deserves that credit. He certainly put his hand up, and it's a good position for New South Wales to be in, to have one of the best players finding some form and available for selection.
Has he demanded selection?
Oh, I think he has. There's no surprise why South Sydney have gone a lot better in the last 3 weeks. They've had 3 wins in a row. Obviously, chucking a bye too. I just love his physicality he's brought back. You see the try last night. He just steamrolled straight through. It was like that from the moment he hadn't obviously made the selection of the Origin. It was like a bit of a, it's put a little bit of a fire into him. And then when you see Swalihi go down, well, not go down, but get sent off, and you know he's going to be ruled out for this next Origin, he's just come to another level. But I also reckon it's come from the blokes around him too. Cody Walker, playing some really good footy, get him some more open space. But just the effort areas Latrell's doing, Wader, like you see, there's times in the games where he can just sort of, wander in and out. He's going looking for the ball now. He's trying to bring the ball back with some gusto. He's getting that where he gets that nice punch, finds his front, starts their sets off well, and it really helps sides. And for me, I think it's going to be perfect for him at left centre.
Yeah, well, Souths are going great, aren't they, at the moment? 3 in a row. And it's funny because I know they're still a long way off the top 8, but if there's any team who can go on a run of, say, 9 from 10 or 9 from 11 and steam into the finals, it will be them. But just at the moment, when they find in their form, most likely they're going to lose Latrell. Cam Murray's probably going to be back in the picture. Cody Walker's playing outstanding. He's probably going to be a shout. If not this game, then definitely game 3. So it's like, well, they finally get in the South system back on track, and then all of a sudden you're going to have these disruptions. But again, they're playing the type of footy that we expected of them at the start of the year, and their leading players are doing that for them.
Yeah. It seemed to be that he had to do more, though, Michael, given that he had to impress Maguire, the coach, that he was keen to play for New South Wales, which seems odd that he should have to say that out loud.
Well, everyone's waiting for him to come out and say,
why are we waiting for him? But we know he wants to play.
He does. And I can't understand how, shouldn't even be a conversation. He needs to be picked. If Michael Maguire doesn't pick him, it's going to be the talking point leading into Origin 2. And to be honest with you, if he doesn't pick him and they lose,
but the thing is,
it's embarrassing.
He's never retired from New South Wales. So why does he need to come out and say he wants to play?
No, I think Latrell has been scarred by Origin before. I think Latrell.
Yeah, but that's not under this coach.
No, it's not under this coach. But I think he's got this history there, and he feels like he's been let down before, and maybe people haven't protected him. And I think the uncertainty around what happened with Sean Johnson as well. Remember with that charge, and then everyone saying he needs to focus on Souths, he needs to give back to the club. He's starting to lose his head, and he's in a headspace where it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Do I concentrate on Souths? Do I put myself up for Madge? Do I have to beg to play?
If you concentrate on Souths, your footy does the talking. You'll make New South Wales Blues.
Well, that's what he's now done.
Happening.
That's what he's done. He's let his footy do the talking.
But why do we need to hear that he wants to play for New South Wales? No, the form that he's doing at South Sydney should warrant that he makes New South Wales.
No, I know, but everyone's waiting to hear it, right? That's what everyone last night. Joey was going into the sheds to try and get him. Everyone wants to talk to him, media. That's the talking point. They want to hear him say it. I don't think he needs to say it.
Doesn't at all.
He doesn't need to say it. I think Madge needs to believe in him and put his pride to the side in this situation, and not have a guy ringing and begging for him to play, and know what he's going to deliver, because he's delivered on the big stage
the other thing is,
countless times before.
Madge picks him. The confidence Latrell would get from Madge picking him. Not going to him and saying, I want to be in the team. Yeah. When a coach believes in you, geez, it does wonders for a player.
He didn't believe him in game 1. I wonder what impact that had as well.
But his form probably didn't warrant it.
I agree with Woodsy. Like, how could he believe in him when where South's sitting at that moment? It's hard to get someone like that into your team because he just wasn't anywhere near his best. But now the last 3 weeks, as Woodsy said...
He's only played one game since that team was named, boys.
He's played 2. He played Gold Coast and then he played last night.
But no, he played 3 games. 3 games before that team was named. Is that right, or 2? He played 3 before the game 1 team was named.
Yeah, but that was his own fault as well, but for getting suspended. It's not as if he was out injured, and that was a part of the issue as well. Right? That's why the criticism was so heavy, because his behaviour was getting him out of footy. Then when he was playing footy, he wasn't playing the type of footy that we know he can play. And on top of that, his club was struggling, and there was the off-field stuff going on as well, right? So it was all a perfect storm. It just made that like a train crash there for a little bit. But now, after the suspension, was it? And then he came back, played a game, didn't get selected, has played 2 more since, and Souths have won 3 games. They're turning around, and they're starting to look like the team that we all expected at the start of the year. Yeah. And I agree with Woodsy. Like, your footy form, you don't have to ring up and say, I want to play for the Blues or declare it publicly to guys like us. It's not up to that. You just let your footy on the field do the
coach
talking.
wanted that, though.
Yeah, well, I think he could have done it behind closed doors, and maybe he has. Maybe we don't know.
But they said there's been a conversation with Latrell and Madge prior to Origin 1.
Yeah.
And he said his form didn't warrant making the team in that round, in that game 1.
I think Latrell wasn't picked because they were concerned around whether or not the type of team that Madge wanted to pick.
Yeah.
Players that were going to effort upon effort, and there was a lot of thought given to stats and the numbers. And
well,
I think that's why Latrell didn't get picked.
I still think, but if
exactly, I agree.
Yeah, but I still think even if he's picked, he'll have to play the way Madge wants him to play,
exactly.
And it's going to be a lot of work out of the backfield because that's what Origin is, and it's going to be different the way he plays at South because it's not fullback. He's not going to have to roam all the way around, but he's going to have to get back there and get play ones and play twos and carry hard out of the backfield for sure. But he's done that in Origin before. Yep. I think back to that game up in Townsville, was it?
Yep.
Him and Tommy Turbo, they were the 2 best players on the field by a country mile, and it was because of them the New South Wales won.
I think what Madge likes as well is aggression, aggressive centres. He brings that. I think he's, defensively, he's just so hard, so strong. He just does those awkward things that just frustrates players. He's got that real long levers, and he can just drag blokes. You give him opportunity close to the sideline, he'll take you out 9 times out of 10. He's just one of those real aggressive type players. So I think he'll suit Madge's style of play.
Do you think Madge went with a conservative team for game 1, trying to match Queensland, not beat them?
No, I don't.
Not really.
No, I don't think so. I think there's enough in that game that if he.
You've got to remember we played with 12 players for 72 minutes.
I'm saying before we even played, like the team they picked in game 1, I know they were never going to win. We went down to 12 men. But the team they picked for game 1, no Appy, no Latrell, like the guys that you'd probably think the points are coming from there.
I think he went for a defensive mindset team.
Yeah. Shut them down.
Well, and go through the front door. He was all about the power game through the middle and be solid defensively, work hard, and get through the game that way. It was easy to see with the team that he picked, and I actually think there was enough in that game 1 because we still ran more. I think 100 less meters in Queensland in total, and that was with 12 men down. And throughout periods of the game, despite being a man down, there was times where we controlled the momentum and just. Even with all that, it was maybe just our game management, where we let them start their sets from that hurt us. So
probably I reckon it was the end of our sets, wasn't it, Wado? Like a couple of 20-minute restarts, a couple of pop gun kicks, we just fall a little bit short of the line, which didn't put any pressure on them. I reckon if we could have nailed a couple of those, then you're sort of going, well, we're right up in it.
So it's tough for you. You're Mitchell Moses' a close mate, and you know Nico Hines really well. Who's the 7?
I'd go Mitchell. I just feel that at the moment, Nico, I'm a big fan of Nico going into game 1. Obviously, Mitchell was injured. I just feel he's got no confidence in himself at the moment. I think he's struggling. I watched him after that game when he got knocked out against Penrith. He passed the HIA, didn't come back on. Watching him in and around the Origin camp, just didn't look confident in his ability. Playing the way he does. I like nice straight halves, and I just think the kicking game is so massive in Origin, and that's Mitchell Moses' best asset.
Are you giving Cody Walker any shot at the number 6?
Definitely, I think so. He showed again last night. He's still one of the most creative halves in the competition. The way he plays square, manipulates the defence with his hands, and he really lets the defence make their decision, and then he takes the other option. He's probably the best ball player close to the line we have in the competition, and he's definitely he would be on Madge's radar for sure.
I reckon, Wade, a lot of the times when Luai did get the ball, he skipped back under a lot. He didn't use his edge. I know we had to play short, but that's what Cody Walker does the best. He takes it to the line. He picks the right option 9 times out of 10. He's, if you got someone playing for your life, who would you want? Cody Walker is just an absolute competitor.
Do you get the best out of Latrell by having Cody there as well?
I think you do.
Create an
I
environment
honestly
where
think
he's
you
happy.
do. Yeah, he's got the people that he loves having around him.
And Cam Murray would be one of those as well.
Yeah, I think Cam Murray comes in the conversation now. His leg speed in and around the ruck. It's something that we need to really work hard on, which is our ruck speed, which will create momentum for the likes of Mitchell Moses, and Cody Walker. Because the quicker our rucks can be, Mitchell Moses loves short sides. You know, Cody Walker loves that left edge. And then, you know, who's going to be on the left edge, left centre?
The one thing
Latrell
for sure
Mitchell.
is there's still there's plenty of question marks heading into this weekend's
many.
footy. We got the game out of Penrith. How's Dylan Edwards get through that game?
Yep.
Is he going to be there? Burton's playing. Where does he fit in the equation? So there's probably a lot of
They've been talking about Jakey.
yeah. So there's a lot of moving parts still for Mad to decide on, and we've only 3 games in.
Indeed. But won't Madge want fewer moving parts? Won't he want to kind of look like he's doing the minimal changes that
Madge
he's
just
required
needs to
to?
win. He just needs to win. He needs to do whatever it takes to win because you lose this, you lose the series.
And Connor Watson, I think, is because
Who
Connor
cares
Watson
if you make
was
10
going to
changes?
get.
You make 10 changes. You need to go in with a mindset you're going to win. You got to dust off everything. You need to go for that win. It doesn't matter.
I wonder if, mate, this might sound stupid, but if you're going to, if to your point, if you're going to pick Cody Walker and you're going to pick Latrell Mitchell, do you knock on Jack Wighton's door and say, mate, I'm serious.
I think he already has, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, but that was prior to. If you're telling me Cody Walker and Latrell Mitchell should be there, my next call is to Jack Wighton and say, mate, your boys are playing. Do you want to be on our bench? Like, imagine him as your utility on the bench.
Well, Jack's a fantastic player, and I have no doubt that if he was wanted to play rep footy, he would play rep footy. But he came out before the Origin series and said, "Nah, my time's up. I'm happy for the next generation of guys to fly the flag." So it's unfortunate for New South Wales because he would be there every day of the week if he was available for selection. But yeah, I think he's closed the door on that chapter.
And when you mentioned Dylan Edwards, is it only the getting through in terms of injury that stands in the way of him? I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Because before the first game, that was a huge talking point. But now, if you say Dylan Edwards is going to be picked, people go, "Yeah, I think that's probably about right."
Yeah, I do. I think Mad showed his hand there when he picked Dylan over Teddy, and it was just unfortunate for Dylan. He got the injury because he certainly, despite me. Before Origin 1 saying I would stick with Teddy as captain because of the experience. There was no doubt about the case of Dylan Edwards. He's been in the premiership for the last 3 years in a row, the fullback of that team. So he deserved his shot. And the hard thing for him, if New South Wales had a one, I think he stayed with Teddy at the back, right? And Teddy tried his hardest. His work rate was up there. He does all the things that we normally know Teddy to do. He found the try then on the last tackle. But unfortunately, I think because of the loss and because of the original decision to pick Dylan, I think he's going to get his shot.
Brandon Smith, he won't be playing in the Rooster side that takes on the Eels this evening. Breach notice for missing a mid-season review. Just before we have a chat about it, gentlemen, let's have a listen to what Trent Robinson, the coach, had to say.
Pretty simple, he fell out of favour for this week because it was really important for us and everyone was there that was needed to be, and we really wanted, people care about how we perform each week. And just in that occasion, he said, "Look, I don't. That's not important to me." And so, myself and the club wanted to say, no, this is what we do here every day is really important. And we value you, but we want you to value us as much. But if you want significant change, it's a bit like being a parent. If you want to change, how do you discipline and love someone at the same time? That's what you have to do. But when you do it in our game, it becomes very public. But when you take away the thing that people really thrive off, it often creates change in the better way. You can do it privately and sort of ask for change and all of that, but until you say, hang on, if you don't value the game, then you don't play a game, then that creates the change that we want. And so we really want to support him and get him better, but it has to come through discipline. Like what does support look like? And it does look like, no, these are the standards. We support you by telling you the truth. Lots of teams, lots of clubs won't tell you the truth. They won't sit you down face to face and tell you what you think. They'll say it behind your back, or whereas the senior players told him what they wanted from him, they tell you the truth. It's a hard conversation, but it's honest, and that's where trust gets built. So they handled it in the right way as well.
Trent Robinson, the coach of the Roosters, on Brandon Smith. Interesting there that he said that Brandon Smith had said to them, obviously talking about the meeting, that that's not important to me. For him to actually say that, you can understand why there has been this kind of reaction, I guess.
Did he say that, or did he say by his actions it showed that it wasn't important to him? I think that's what he meant. That's how I took it. I love the interview. I love how he spoke. I love the honesty. He's 100% spot on. Sometimes it is hard to have those hard conversations, and at the time it's hard, but it's better for the club and it's better for the individuals and the team to do in the long run. And basically what's happened is, the mid-season review, the club said, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to do this because we just want to take a day off from you, or we don't think it's a good idea. We're going to do this season review because we think it's going to help our performance. we're making this decision for the good of the team. So you have 18 other players come in. They take away their time. They're happy to sacrifice their time. They're there on time. They do their review, and then one player doesn't. So he doesn't live up to the standards. And sure, it might be a Sunday, and we got the bye this week, and I'd rather spend it with my kids playing or something. But my role and my job as a rugby league player, as a leader in that team, is I have to go to work and I have to show up because 17 other guys are doing it, and those 17 other guys depend on me. So that's where Trent Robertson's coming from. As a senior player, that's exactly how I would probably handle that situation as well. It's better to have the hard truth up front, deal with it, and then move on from it.
I think the senior players had spoken to the coaching staff as well, and they had an influence on him not playing this week. They were pretty pissed off with him for not turning up. I rang Brandon Smith on Sunday morning last week before I wrote the story that he had been breached. And look, to his credit, he admitted it. We spoke about what happened. He said, look, I went out with my partner and my mum. We went to brunch. I left my phone at home, came back to 20 missed calls, didn't realise it was on. I'll take him on face value. If that's the version of events he goes with, that's the version of events that he's telling the Roosters. But the senior players were ropeable because...
I love it. You got standards at a club that you need to abide by, and then it doesn't change for who you are. Just because he's a big name player, he's a marquee, you got to follow the rules. They've got values in the group, as Trent Robertson said. And the thing for me is that it's a review. It's a mid-season review. So they want to sort of put an nail on where they can be better, what he's been doing right, things to fix. And if you think you're too good, or you leave your phone at home, come on.
I think the senior players, I'd say, would have had an influence of when that review was put on as well. Like they would have had a say in that because it was their bye week, right?
Yep.
So, as a senior player, the coach talks to you. How do you think we're going as a team? What's the mood in the dressing shed?
You reassess.
How can you do it? What do you think the best plan for the week is? Should we have some days off early in the week and get some hard work done at the back end of the week and then a few more days off? Or should we come in, do the review, train really hard, and then have an extended break? So all these things would have been weighed up when they put this review on. And again, it's hard to manage 30 different players in the squad, right? Because everyone's in different situations. But I know, like, particularly as I got older in the back end of my career, once I had a young family, like if I had a day off, I'd want to take the day off because I want to spend time with my missus and my kids. So if you schedule it in, because this is the best part or the best way we think, and it's a group decision. You don't make it by yourself. Obviously, Trent makes it with his leadership group. If you make that decision, you do it because you think it's in the best interest of the team. So if you're making a sacrifice, you turn up and you do your job, and then someone else doesn't make that same sacrifice, you're entitled to be disappointed and filthy and address the situation.
What I love about it, Wade, is that the coach, Robinson, and I heard some comments from Luke Keary, they haven't lied about nothing. They said, no, we've got these are our standards.
That's the way you have to do it.
Honesty is the best thing, and at least Brendan Smith's going to know where he stands now. You can't,
Well, so it serves no purpose.
But the thing for me is, Chammas, where does it leave Brendan Smith now? There's so much speculation about him at the Roosters. There's a lot of talk.
Yeah.
He's taking his option up for next year. Are they happy with that?
Well, if we take a walk down Fairnicombe Avenue for a second, the noise around Brandon Smith for the last couple of weeks has been that he's on the outer, that the club would like him to move on. Now, that hasn't resulted in them telling him that, but there are enough people in the game who know that they are frustrated with Brandon Smith at the moment. He took up an option. I think he's on $850 next year. Would the Roosters have been happy if he walked away? I'm sure they would have. I don't think that he's quite fit into the culture there. I don't think they have been happy with some of the commitment, and it's left them questioning his contribution to the team. He has to now come out of this and show the club and show the people in that team, the senior players, that he isn't going to be a liability and that he is worth the money that they're going to spend. Is he easily expendable? No, because he's on big money, which means clubs aren't going to line up to pay $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 of that salary next year. It's going to require the Roosters to contribute. They're in a situation right now, the Roosters, though, they think they can win a competition this year. It's not in their best interest to unsettle things and to try and move things and upset the apple cart by doing it right now. I'd be stunned if they're not trying to obviously they've held him to account and made it public.
Do you think they're trying to do breach notices like Taylor May's getting at Penrith?
I think this is the first warning. And if things happen going forward with Brandon Smith. I don't think they'll be shy to continue to breach him. Then that puts him in a situation where, if it does escalate, they can tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, time for you to front the border with the show coordinators like Taylor and May, as you alluded to.
Well, it's up to Brandon how he reacts to this, right? And he seems, all reports are that everything's
It's been good this year.
All the cards have been put on the table. So it's not as if there's going to be any lingering frustration or disappointment. So this is where we're at. This is a line in the sand. We need you to react to this in the right way so we can move forward as a club. And the other thing that doesn't probably help the situation, they recruited him for a reason, and the guy that they recruited him to replace was Jake Friend. And Jake Friend, you talk about people being held with respect and love. Like, I know 100%. Every single one of those senior Roosters boys would die on a hill for Jake Friend. They love him that much, and that's the amount of respect of what he did every week and how he prepared every week, how he played every week, how tough he was, and what he did in that jersey, what that number 9 jersey stood for at the Roosters when Jakey played, and that's the guy that Brendan's been measured up against. So he's got to come out of this and work hard and find some form that he can play.
He's a different style to what Jake Friend was.
He's not going to be the same player. He's a different player, but he's got to have the same level of commitment.
Yeah, I agree.
Every time he cross onto that footy field that Jakey had.
I said this. Oh, sorry, Tone. I was just saying. I said this earlier in the week. I haven't seen in my time covering the sport so much instability and uncertainty around the Sydney Roosters and their decision-making process. And the signature of Brandon Smith, people from the outside thought he's not a Roosters player. The decision to go after David Fafita, the decision and the way it all planned out, and then the ramifications of that, you're upsetting, you're getting people's nose out of joint like Angus Crichton, Joseph Swali'i leaving, Joey Manu leaving, Luke Keary re-signing, then retiring. There's just so much uncertainty and instability at the moment at the Roosters, and I haven't seen that for such a long time. I don't know why. I don't know why the club. Maybe they feel as though the window's closing and they're sort of panicking a little bit, trying to win this premiership before some of these guys retire or move on. But you don't normally associate irrational decisions with the Roosters, and at the moment, you feel a little bit that's happening at the club.
Yeah. All right, just before we get off there, just a more general thing on that. In terms of that leadership within a group, because footy clubs are filled with people of various ages, various egos, personalities, how difficult is it for you to kind of work out how you approach if you can see that some behaviours aren't, going down the right path? Is it, as a group, is it simple, or is it, well, it's a different kind of set of circumstances for one player than it is with another?
Well, everything's you got to be taken in context, right? And players, most good senior players who have been around the game for a long time, the experienced guys, that they know the moods of the dressing shed. They hear the whispers, and you can normally pick up on any warning signs or anything you need to keep your eye out on pretty quickly. And the way you manage that might be different. If me and Woodsy were at the club, if I had a closer relationship with one of the younger guys, I might deal with it. But if I was captain, I knew Woodsy had a closer relationship with the guy. I'd say, Woodsy, let's not talk out of school, but let's nip this in the bud and get him back on the right track. And mate, things are always happening in people's lives and in their personal lives, and it takes away. Sometimes it takes a lot to remain focused on the game for the whole season. And you have little slip ups here and there, but it's important that the players, look after each other because you're in it together. One, you can't go to where you want to go if people aren't in it together. So it's important for the club to be solid, and I love that interview from Robbo because it's just upfront, it's honest, and him and Luke Keary are singing from the same tune. Yeah. That's how you know they're on, it's united.
I also reckon it's how you tell them. Some people you can be so direct and honest. Other people you sort of got to give them examples, what they've done wrong, how they've done it, and maybe a little cuddle as well, because people handle conflict a lot different to what, not everyone's exactly the same.
Yeah.
You can't be so direct and honest with some people, but you've got to be honest in a way that they can understand it.
Yeah.
Look at the way it all unfolded at South Sydney when people started to believe that others were talking behind their back and and it doesn't take long for people to start to think, okay, well, who's talking about me? Can we all trust each other? And then when that starts, it unravels pretty quickly. And we saw that at South Sydney with what happened last year with Sam Burgess, and then continued on this year and resulted in Jason Demetrio moving on.
Yeah, just for future reference, I'm a need a cuddle kind of guy. This is Saturday Scrum. They're on fire at the moment. They've having the fans of the Bulldogs absolutely in full belief that they are going places. May even be this year. Are they further ahead than you thought they were going to be, or around the right spots?
I think probably a little bit further ahead than I thought. I had them, if I remember correctly, I had them improving a lot this year, but I thought next year would be the year.
Yeah.
I thought, righto, Cam's got some guys coming in now, some guys you can lean on, like Stephen Crichton. Kickout is going to be better for his second year at the club. They've had a lot more. They're the most active club in recruitment. I was like, okay, they'll improve for sure, but I didn't think they'd improve this fast, this quickly. And it's funny because talking about the Mick Fanning Golf Day, Cam Serrato was there. They had the buy, so I caught up with him. We're staying at the same hotel, and we're watching the footy together last night, and we're talking about the defensive system. And I just spoke about the Sharks' inconsistency in the defence, but this is why the Bulldogs are having so much defence. He's just finally starting to see the defensive system that Cam Serrato is trying to implement at that club take effect, and they're doing a wonderful job at it, and it's starting to almost look identical to the Penrith defensive system. It's a high, fast-moving square line from it's not quite sideline to sideline, that they tighten it up, but because they get so fast, so high, it puts enormous pressure on the attack, and then slowly, if you consistently do it, you win the field position battle, and that itself puts pressure on the opposition. So you break teams down in reverse, and he's doing a wonderful job. But it's a hard thing to sell, right? Because it takes so much effort. You got to retreat as fast as you can. You got to outlay like almost a sprint into your defensive line.
So this is fascinating because, I mean, obviously for those on the outside, the defensive system was an up and in or was a sliding defence. All those, they were the kind of the terms that were used. So when you're talking about this system, a lot of people I'm thinking, well, I'm not really sure.
If you want to watch the Bulldogs when they play, you watch how fast we call them ABC defenders move, and that's the first three defenders close to the ruck. They go sprint straight forward, basically 8 metres, 9 metres, and try and race to get to the attack, but so do the edges. So if you have a fast-moving middle, you can still make field position if you just have an early shift and take the easy metres. But their whole line moves. That's a high, square, fast-moving line, and they do it consistently for long enough to break down the opposition because they win that field position battle, and it just puts pressure on the other team. And again, it takes a commitment as a team because it's hard to do. It's a big outlay of energy, and it takes that commitment, understanding that I'm going to outlay my energy. I'm going to go full tilt into this system because eventually it'll win us the field position, and then the game will get easier. The longer the game goes, and the more you can keep doing that for, the game will get easier on the back end because you just put so much pressure on the opposition.
Well, that's why they bought the players they did, Wader, right? Everyone laughed at, how many utilities does Gus want to bring in? What he's brought in was hard workers and guys who were going to buy into that system, because the people I was speaking to last year, and the frustration from Cameron Serraldo, is he had players coming to him saying, we don't understand what you want us to do. We don't understand this system. We're struggling with it. And for him, coming from Penrith, where they'd mastered that system and he had players who'd perfected that, and they were the best defensive team in the last 10 years, then he had guys coming complaining it wasn't the system that was broken.
Can they sustain it for you?
What, that system or the performances, you mean?
The system and performance.
Well, if the Roosters lose to Parra tonight, the Dogs finished the round in 5th. That's incredible.
They've got a big month ahead of them.
They do. And even if they just miss the top 8, that's still overachieving from what most people thought. I think they're going to make the top 8, Woodsy.
I think they'll make the 8.
Yeah, I reckon.
And I think
done good.
What stood out for me in particular was the game against Penrith about a month or so ago out at Penrith.
Yeah,
it was a low scoring game. They were in it for 80 minutes, and just the way they got through that game. I know they still lost, but the way they competed, the confidence they gained from going up against, that was a full-strength Penrith at the time as well.
Cleary's hammy about 20 minutes in the game. That I reckon it's the performance on Monday. Like, they were like...
Yeah, that was a good game too.
Like, there was a moment where Parramatta should have put them away. Like, they were playing against 12 men, and you just noticed the effort in their energy in defence when they had 12 players. They forced Parra into those errors. And there was a moment in the game, I think Matt Burton comes up with a 40-20. Like, that just shows, like, just his kicking game. Big. And then the way that they got around it, it just always looked like Bulldogs were going to win that game. Yeah, they weren't ahead on the scoreboard, but the way that they're playing, it was just suffocating Parramatta. They had no answers.
It's interesting to have Matt Burton seemed to have put away that big bomb
Yeah.
for all, but out it came, and now suddenly everybody's doing it. The belly of the ball, away we go. And I mean, poor old Clint Gutherson, who was brilliant at taking those, and took one early with the run and the dive, lateral movement, couldn't get nowhere near.
Which was the one right on half time. That was scary.
Mate, that was unbelievable. So talk about, I was at that game. I don't think I've seen it kick higher. I've not seen, and not just was it high, it was floating around up there, just hanging around and
He
floating.
didn't even get close to it in the end.
Mate, if I was Clint Gutho, I would have been yelling out, yours, to one of them. I wouldn't even be attempting to catch it.
It's a good observation though, Tone, because they have made like Sorrello's actually told him pack it away.
Oh, has
Because
he?
He had. Because
Why is that?
They were giving up too. He was trying it too often. They were giving up too much field position,
Okay.
and he wanted him to focus on get it into the corners, get it deep in there, and make sure that we do the simple things right. And the fact that now he's allowed him to do it
balance,
again,
yeah.
you get the sense Cameron's probably thought, okay, we've done this now. We've earned our opportunity, and we've earned the right to now actually take a few risks, and they did on the weekend, and it paid off. You saw one of them didn't pay off. One went up, came back, straight up and down. So timing.
To be fair, but Matt Burton's like consistent kick still higher than most normal people kick anyway. So even his end over end to a corner,
What about
like why not lean on that percentage kick when it still gives you
That's
kick
right.
chase
the way he
at a
kicks the
time to
ball,
allow
Wado,
them.
it's like that left foot. It doesn't even like hit it hard. It's just how smooth. Like that 40-20, he nudged it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
I don't think I've seen a better striker with the
Nah,
footy.
so good.
Incredible. Big club, the Eels. Obviously, big talk about the coach. What is going to happen? Who is going to be there? Trent Barrett is in the interim coach's position as we speak. Another nomination for the Dally M Interim Coach of the Year award later in the year. Where are we at? I know that Jason Demetriou has said out loud he wants that job.
Yeah, he has. He's met with the club. The interviews continued this week. I imagine there'll be an answer in the next 2 weeks, Tone, with Parramatta. Obviously, Trent Barrett has an audition. He gets the chance to show them what he can do. And
Do they know what they want? Do they want a senior coach? Do they want a young coach that's up and running? What do they want?
this is the hard part. They obviously their target is Wayne Bennett, right? They miss him, so clearly they want an experienced coach. They think the best thing for them is to get an experienced coach. They miss Wayne Bennett,
So who's out there? That's
but there is
experienced?
no other person that's anywhere near that category of.
You know someone
coach.
that I love that I reckon should get an opportunity? Josh Hannay.
He's on the list.
I think it'll be Josh Hannay or Riles.
He was so impressive when I had him at Cronulla. Wader was at Cronulla longer, and he's still there. He's doing an apprenticeship under Craig Fitzgibbons. He had a little bit of time under, I think it was Paul Green up at the Cowboys.
Yeah.
He's handled some really tough situations, and then now he's in the Queensland
He's
squad.
helping Billy a lot with the Queensland
And
team.
from what you hear from Billy, does a really good job. And if you want to go with a young coach on the up, and that's got a bit behind him, I love what Josh Hannay brings.
Yeah, I think it'll be Josh Hannay or Jason Riles. I know they're interviewing other candidates as well, but
Michael Checker.
when we take that walk
It's
down
rugby
Fair
league,
Dinkum
isn't it?
Avenue, it'll be those two.
It's a game. And Michael Checker is an impressive human being who has coached at the highest level.
I'd
in
love
terms of
someone
rugby
to
union.
give him a chance.
That's a very left field decision. If
I've
they
heard
go
he's
down that
pretty
path.
good. I've spoken to a couple of boys from the Lebanon squad, and they loved him.
Do you know what I can't believe, Woodsy? This might be a little bit controversial, but
shock me.
he is your agent.
Is this in the fair incomes? Or?
This is the Fair Dinkum Avenue, not street.
Yeah.
But Isaac Moses, it's been well known that Isaac hasn't been a fan of Brad Arthur, right? And I think there's been,
Likewise back.
yes, correct. And I think there's been some agitation over the last couple of years that have resulted, well, maybe not contributed to it, but there's definitely been some agitation that he may have not been up to the task. What I can't believe is that someone of Isaac Moses' stature wouldn't have a horse in the race. And at the moment, publicly, he doesn't have a horse in the race. And it makes me suspicious around one of these coaches he has, which he has a lot of NRL coaches. It makes me suspicious that maybe behind closed doors, something's being done with a coach to go to Parramatta. I'm not saying I know anything, but Todd Pater,
in the
Andrew
fair
Webster,
dinkum, you wouldn't
Anthony
say that for no
Seibold.
reason. It's like you've got us to the climax part, but you're just not.
It's a fair dinkum dead end.
That's a fair dinkum bludger.
Cul-de-sac, fair dinkum
That is a bludger.
circuit.
Give us something.
Well, I'm asking you. Do you think there might be something going on with an
Mate,
Andrew
I'm not the
Webster
one
or a
that's
Todd
I'm not the one
Payton?
that come out and said that this is,
your
Isaac's
denial
got
is
people at Parramatta.
I find it weird that he doesn't. I just don't believe he doesn't have a horse in the race.
Tell me this.
He pushed Blake Green to be there with Wayne Bennett.
There seems to be a document in the Saturday Telly today, Dean Ritchie's story, which is a glowing endorsement from current players on Trent Barrett, who is, as we said, is the interim coach. Captain, Clint Gutherson saying, "Here's my full support as a player and captain of the club." Mitch Moses saying, "Trent has helped my game immensely. Knows how to get the best out of certain players." I think Sean Lane also goes on the record. So it's a kind of a push.
Well, is it a push or is it just? Are they just answering questions?
Yeah, exactly.
given to them?
No, well,
Because
that's the thing because everyone reads it.
Was
you
it
would
a
think
media all in
That's
day?
what
they're
everyone would
quotes.
think though, because they weren't up for media, so they actually spoke to the journalist for this story, and the same players who obviously were very supportive of Brad Arthur are now throwing their support behind Trent Barrett in a
So you're saying
media interview that wasn't endorsed or set up by the club.
So you're saying the players rang this journo and said they wanted to get this out there?
or the journo has rung them, or vice versa. But it wasn't
You
at
can
a
say his
media
name is Dean
opportunity.
Ritchie is the
yeah,
journo.
but like, what are the players meant to say? Like,
So, he's a dud
of course
coach.
they're going to support
Yeah,
him. Of course, they're
No, well, Mitchell and Clint Gutherson don't do media outside of their mandated media opportunities or when they're asked to do it. This wasn't at a weekly press conference. They've gone out of their way to back Trent Barrett, and I think it speaks volumes of Trent Barrett. I think the club was surprised by the fact that this story had come out there. And look, Trent Barrett, he will be interviewed as part of this. I just don't think he's going to get the job.
I think that's just like they. I don't know. I don't know how the story is put together, but I just think they're just honestly flat batted answers back to the journalist saying, "Of course you go."
Flat bat from Sean Lane. Who
Well,
is the smart man?
but-
Who is the smart man?
But he
are you talking
doesn't.
about?
He doesn't answer anything with a flat bat.
One of the most important
Who's
skills
that?
that you need to
Sean
develop
Lane.
as a head coach is emotional regulation. You're always in the spotlight. There are always media articles floating around about you, external pressure constantly being put on you by fans and other stakeholders. I think he understands that now and has prepared himself very well for that.
Well, he
Flat bat. That's the Gray Nichols scoop. What is that?
He's been hanging around James Graham with those
He's
big words.
very in depth. I think it's a 2-horse race between Jason Rolls and Josh Hannah.
Yep.
I think Parramatta they
Madge?
showed he's pulled
No,
out.
he's
out.
But
Oh, sorry.
I think like from the club
He's not
perspective,
linked with Isaac.
the amount of time they invested and gave to Brad Arthur, I think they want a career coach there, someone who could be there for ideally 10 years. So I think you back either Jason Rolls and Josh Hannah and the work they've done. Like I can't speak on Jason Rolls. I've never had anything to do with him as a coach. I've only known him from the game and bumping into him. But Josh Hannah, who I work with at the Sharks, I think he would be an outstanding head coach. He has the respect of everyone at that club. It's a good position, that head coaching role at Parramatta. It's a good development junior base. It's a good club off the
roster.
field. It's
Good roster.
It's a good roster. It's an appealing job. That's why there's so much interest in it. But from my perspective, Josh Hannah, he's ready, and he would be an outstanding first grade coach.
Should the players have a say in who the coach should be? Like, obviously, they made there's a process going on that
You
the
always
club
want to
is
be. You want to
going
be
through.
involved. Like if they're going to come back to you and say,
Have
like,
you ever
we've got-
been involved in a coach's decision?
Oh, I've had a couple.
Not to sack them. not to sack them, to sign them.
Nah, not really.
Oh, okay.
That was why I got out. Remember? It's honesty, isn't it?
That's
This part-
fair income.
it-
That's
it-
fair income
that is
avenue
in the
there.
fair incomes.
He did a U-turn out of fair income cul-de-sac.
Avenue, right there.
That was when you hung around like a bad smell at the
I
back of
remember
my
that.
car.
I remember talking to you in your fancy red ute saying, "What are you doing, Woodsy? You shouldn't leave this club." Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Yes, you do.
Does anyone listen to what you say?
Yeah. Well, you didn't. Clearly, you ended up with the Bulldogs for 6 minutes.
Fancy red ute.
Yeah,
It
it
wasn't
was
red,
that
it was
red?
orange.
Was it?
Orange, Colorado.
Oh, nice car.
It was red.
Don't let the facts get in the way
No,
of a good
good
story.
story. Exactly.